Hello and welcome to The Perspective on NTV World. I am Sabika Shrestha, your host for the weekly current affairs program. Here we pick the news of the week, unpack its significance and examine how today's decisions shape tomorrow's direction. This week our focus is on the upcoming House of Representatives election. As Nepal heads closer to its next House of Representatives election, the political temperature is rising and the battle for parliament is quietly taking shape. Parties are recalibrating strategies in their manifestos. Candidates are busy canvassing voters and asking questions amid internal rifts and questions over representation and governance. This issue featured in most of our bulletins this week on NTV World. On today's episode, we look beyond the campaign slogans to examine what is really at stake in the upcoming House of Representatives election and why this contest could redefine Nepal's political direction in the years ahead. Nepal's Election Commission shortlisted 13 transportation companies to deliver ballot papers and election materials to high hill and mountainous regions. The two selected firms are Saza Courier and Cargo Trans Air International Logistic Private Limited. Although the Commission invited registrations for helicopter services, no firm applied. Additionally, 11 firms have been listed to provide truck and container services. A total of 3,487 candidates have registered their nomination for the first-past-the-post system for March 5 election on a single day slated for nomination. On the same day, a faction of Nepali Congress that was adamant to recognize the special convention filed a writ petition at the Supreme Court demanding postponement of the nomination. Following closure of the proportional representation PR system, candidature focus now shifts to the first-past-the-post system, where major parties have already worked out their nominees. Despite recent split of Nepali Congress and the writ of the Deuba side at the Supreme Court demanding postponement of FPTP nomination date, the intense homework of the parties is almost over. Nepali Congress President Gagan Thapa, meanwhile, has been learned to be engaging with top brass on candidate selection throughout Sunday. Whether Thapa will be able to hold the fort in FPTP nomination will be decided by the Supreme Court, which has interestingly summoned 3 sides without issuing any order that would have affected the election timeline. CPN-UML Secretariat's marathon meeting Sunday almost finalized the candidates for all 165 constituencies. Not surprising that the number of aspirants in UML is high and President KP Oli has been given the responsibility to make the final decision on the candidates. The Rashtriya Swatantra Party RSP has also moved forward with the preparations, calling a central committee meeting where for the first time Balendra Saha took part as senior leader. Nepali Communist Party, meanwhile, has finalized the candidates and coordinator Pushpakamal Dahal is already distributing the tickets one by one. Dahal held consultation with senior leader Madhav Kumar Nepal days ahead, signaling a clear decision to contest without electoral alliances. While the possibility of electoral alliance among major parties for the March 5 elections seems slim, the established parties are unsure whether the alternative forces and their newfound alliance will affect their election strategy. As per the timeline of the Election Commission for March 5 election, candidate nomination has been set for a single day on Tuesday, that is 20th of January. Unlike in the past, one candidate can be nominated in only one constituency out of the 165 this time, making the contest interesting as well decisive. Of the 143 parties registered with the Election Commission, 114 are contesting the polls, with 102 parties competing independently and 12 parties forming 5 alliances under separate election symbols. Irrespective of legacy or change agents, this time the FPTP election is surely to be the contest between the new faces and the old ones. In the election for a time, initially 4 former Prime Ministers had filed nomination. The withdrawal of Dr. Baburam Bhattarai now makes it 3 former Prime Ministers on the battlefield. While 3 remain on the battlefield, some heavyweights, including another former Prime Minister Jhalnath Khanal, are missing this time. Bijeta Bhandari followed the political heavyweights during their nomination and canvassing.
As Nepal's election calendar moves into a crucial phase, political heavyweights have reached their constituencies on the eve of the nomination process under the first-past-the-post system. With candidacy registration scheduled for January 20, political activities have intensified across the country as heavyweight leaders make symbolic and strategic appearances on their home ground. In Gorkha, former Prime Minister Dr. Baburam Bhattarai announced his decision to contest from constituency number 2 from the Progressive Democratic Party. Meanwhile, senior leaders of the Rashtriya Swatantra Party are in Janakpur Dham. Speculations are rife on the possible constituency of Palendra Saha, but signs are that the former Kathmandu mayor will contest from Madhya province from the RSP. Party chair Ravi Lamichhane is likely to reach Chitwan for Tuesday's nomination, where former mayor Renu Tahal has already resigned to contest the election from the Nepali Communist Party. Another constituency under spotlight is in Jhapa 5, where CPN-UML chair KP Sharma Oli arrived this afternoon. At the same time, CPN chairperson Pushpa Kamal Tahal has arrived in Rukum East to file his nomination from yet another constituency. As senior leaders head back to their constituencies, the nomination process under the FPTP system marks the formal beginning of what is expected to be a closely watched and high-stakes election season.
Though women make more than 51% of Nepal's population, their representation in policy level has been negligible. Major parties themselves, despite advocating of having ensured 33% women representation in every state mechanism, their behavior while deciding candidates under the first-past-the-post system tells a different story. The nomination process for the upcoming House of Representatives election has once again highlighted Nepal's persistent gender imbalance in the first-past-the-post FPTP electoral system. 3,486 candidates have filed their nomination in 165 electoral constituencies across the country. Of them, only 396 candidates, just 11.34% are women, while 3,089 candidates, or 88.63%, are men, according to figures shared by the Election Commission. Deputy spokesperson of the Election Commission Kul Bahadur Jisi said the gender gap has widened despite an overall rise in candidacy.
Our actually constitution and our acts and regulations are encouraging women and marginalized people, but in reality, in implementation, that point is actually discouraging. That's why we have to focus women participation and the participation of the marginalized people.
The Constitution of Nepal envisions inclusive political participation, encouraging at least one-third representation of women. However, the current nomination pattern shows that political parties have once again failed to reflect constitutional intent in direct elections, relying instead on the proportional representation system to meet inclusion requirements. While women candidacy faces a serious backlash, there has been a massive surge in youth candidates in the upcoming election. Former Minister and women leader Sita Gurung said the numbers expose the gap between rhetoric and reality.
महिलाहरूलाई आन्दोलनको बेलामा अगाडि बढाउने अनि योगदानको बेलामा चाहिँ तर जब उपलब्धि हासिल हुन्छ त्यसपश्चात चाहिँ महिलाहरू कर्मशः पलायन भइरहेको सहभागिताबाट वञ्चित भइरहेको अवस्था चाहिँ छ। त्यो हिसाबले हेर्दाखेरि महिलाहरू आजसम्म पनि नेता भनेर कुनै दलमा पनि स्थापित हुन सकेको अवस्था छैन र समाजले र हाम्रो यो नेताहरूको मानसिकताले स्वीकार गर्दैन। एउटा चाहिँ सबै दलभित्रको हामीले देखिरहेका छौं।
Echoing similar concerns, RSP leader Tosima Karki says women face layered struggles long before reaching the ballot.
It's very pathetic to see the data, like around only 11% of candidacy, female candidacy for direct election. The females who have been able to give their candidacy for the parliamentary election, I think they've already done 3 steps of revolution. The revolution within the family, and the next revolution is within the party. Because I've seen lots of political party hardly give women a position in executive roles. They're always usually made to give chance in the sub role, and the third tier is the most important, which is in the society. Irrespective of the political party, wherever you find a able female candidate standing for the election, please do vote for them.
As election campaigning gains momentum, analysts fear without enforceable legal provisions on women's participation in FPTP nominations, gender imbalance will continue to decline in Nepal's electoral landscape. As election fervor builds across Nepal ahead of the March 5 general polls, Kathmandu, usually the central of political activity, appears unusually subdued, with the absence of familiar political heavyweights leaving the city's streets noticeably quiet. Combined with a shift toward digital campaigning and growing voter frustration over political instability, the calm reflects a changing style of political engagement in the federal capital. Siksha Sarma with Sabina Prajachepang look into the unusually quiet federal capital.
As Nepal gears up for the general elections scheduled for March 5, the election atmosphere is intensifying nationwide. However, Nepal's federal capital Kathmandu appears unusually quiet this time. Usually a hub of political activities during elections, Kathmandu's streets and neighborhoods are noticeably calm. One of the main reasons cited is the decision by several influential leaders to change their constituencies and contest elections from districts outside the capital. Notably, Nepali Congress newly elected President Gagan Thapa, who has repeatedly won elections from Kathmandu in the past, had chosen to contest this time from Sarlahi 4 in Madhya province. Similarly, former Kathmandu Mayor Balendra Shah has decided to run from Chhapa 5, where he is set to face CP and EML chairperson KP Sharma Oli. As a result, Kathmandu voters have been deprived of familiar and popular political figures. This shift may have reduced public enthusiasm compared to previous elections.
अहिले चलपलहरू सबै चकमन नै सुनसान जस्तो छ। पहिला पहिला आउने घर घर दैलो कार्यक्रम गर्ने अहिले त्यो पनि बन्द छ। सबै राजनीतिक यहाँ काठमाडौँको माहौल राम्रो छैन छैन बन्दै छैन। नभए पसलमा हात जोडेर नमस्कार हजुर भन्दै आउँथे, अहिले त छैन, कोही आएको छैन।
पहिले जस्तो प्रचार टाँस्ने गर्ने अनि यो जुलुस नारा जुलुसहरू गरेर प्रचार प्रसार गर्ने त्यो चाहिँ अहिले देख्न पाइएको चाहिँ छैन।
धेरै चलपल छैन, यता त छैन,
कोही देख्दैन अहिले भोटहरू माग्न। यो त चलपल पनि त्यति खासै छैन।
The decline of traditional campaigning methods such as rallies, loudspeaker announcements, and street processions has further contributed to the lack of visible election buzz. Instead, most candidates appear to be relying heavily on social media for outreach. Kathmandu's politically aware voters are also said to be frustrated by ongoing intra-party conflicts and frequent changes in government.
The Election Commission has claimed that this time the election will be techno-savvy to counter emerging challenges of digital media. The introduction of eMonitor Plus, an AI-powered monitoring platform that scans social media and internet sources in real time to identify content that violate election code of conduct, is making the election most techno-savvy in history. Here's a report. Youth engagement is likely to be a defining feature of this year's House of Representatives election in Nepal. Newly released data from the Election Commission shows a significant rise in youths filing candidacy this time.
According to age group, the 25 to 35 group candidates are 16.73%, 36 to 50 age group are 46.43%, 51 to 65 age group are 31.29%, whereas the candidates crossing 65 years of age are 5.77%. That's why very few people are contesting in the election crossing 65 years of age.
Political awareness among youths is also being reflected in voter registration, with more young people registering to vote as they become increasingly engaged in the civic processes. Digital and social media platforms have played a major role in this shift by enabling rapid, low-cost dissemination of election information and increasing political discussion among citizens. When it comes to youth, the use of digital tools also come alongside. Growing reliance on digital platforms also bring risks, including the rapid spread of misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech ahead of the polls, which can distort public perception and influence election outcomes. To tackle these risks, the Commission is collaborating with UNDP, Nepal Army, Nepal Police, and cyber units. The Commission has introduced eMonitor Plus, an AI-powered monitoring platform that scans social media and internet sources in real time to identify content that may violate election code of conduct or spread harmful misinformation and disinformation. Cyber police units and district cyber cells will work with the system to take action against flagged content.
We have launching eMonitor Plus with the help of UNDP, and we have established EIDC, I mean Election Information Dissemination and Coordination Center here. Within this center, one unit is Information Integrity Promotion Unit. They are working rigorously to detect those type of misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech. When they detect them, those type of information, they will classify what is its implication. If it is harmful to community and it is based on hate speech and misinformation and disinformation, they forward it to regulatory agency for legal treatment.
The deployment of eMonitor Plus follows similar systems used in other countries to monitor digital campaign narratives and ensure compliance with electoral rules. Even youths are expecting that organized attempts to spread misinformation and disinformation targeting candidates and the election will be largely discouraged.
The voters or the general people also should be well caring about what they are actually publishing in their social media. They are sharing whatever they are getting the information or videos in there. So majorly those particular videos make the information very weak, and that will particularly help to manipulate the voters in this election. So the governmental agencies, and basically the election commission should be active enough, and election commission should particularly make a separate mechanism to deal with how the misinformation and disinformation is creating chaos in the election.
Though Nepal still votes on ballot papers, the March 5 election for House of Representatives is certain to be most techno-savvy by far. In a newfound trend, major parties announced their prime ministerial candidates in advance for the March 5 election. As per constitutional provisions, only the leader of the parliamentary party of the political party can stake claim for the top post, not the central committee decided or secretariat endorsed. Devendra Suvedi analyzes whether the post was strategic or just an effort to embrace the wave of change demanded by the new generation.
Nepali Congress Central Committee's second meeting under new President Gagan Kumar Thapa has unanimously decided to hit the election floor with Thapa himself as the poster boy. Congress is the third party to declare the prime ministerial candidate to match the strategies of the rivals. Rashtriya Swatantra Party (RSP) was the first to decide the prime ministerial candidate in former Kathmandu Mayor Balendra Shah, who joined the party much later than the declaration. CPN UML was not far behind, as its secretariat meeting expectedly decided to project Chair KP Sharma Oli as its prime ministerial candidate. This is an entirely new practice in Nepali politics, something not seen in any of the parliamentary elections since 1990. Constitutionally, the decision of a party instrument on who will be the next prime minister does not matter. As per the provision, leader of the parliamentary party, that is formed by the elected lawmakers of the lower and the upper houses of the federal parliament, is eligible to become the prime ministerial candidate. If that is the legal provision, why are the parties declaring their prime ministerial candidates one by one? Analysts say it is a move to show that the party is coming to the election with fresh air, a new face to lead the country.
There is a desperation for a generational shift that, look, there is a new face, we have a new person on the one hand. On the other, one of the old parties, okay, this is our candidate. So it's going to be, in that sense, a national competition between and among certain phases. It's also going to affect the national mood to some extent.
While CPN-UML has not been much vocal on championing former Prime Minister Oli as the candidate, RSP and Nepali Congress are very loud and aggressive, most likely because Gagan Thapa and Balendra Shah are the new faces who, to a larger extent, reflect the sentiments of recent Gen Z movement in the country. Though there is no meaning of a party instrument declaring a candidate ahead of the election, this has been done to woo the voters by showing that the party has embraced change. Political analyst Vishnu Sapkota says, though Nepali Congress and CPN-UML might not have any issues in their parliamentary parties, different party and parliamentary party leader in the past have evoked ugly confrontation for prime ministerial berth.
When the party goes to the election with somebody as a prime minister, then there will be a definite moral pressure within the party and from the public if the party does not accept that person or does not propose that person formally to be the prime minister when the opportunity comes. So I think we have to look at it in these two ways.
Though there is no guarantee that the parties who have declared their prime ministers in advance will bag majority or get to lead the coalition, but a question arises. What will happen if the announced candidate does not get the favor of the parliamentary party?
When you win the election and if you don't propose the person, the candidate as prime minister, that will be not only misleading, that will be a betrayal to the public.
In the meantime, Election Commission has completed the printing of 15 million ballot papers for the proportional representation electoral system as of last week. Janak Education Material Center, which is printing the PR ballots, has now almost completed the PR ballot paper while making last-minute preparations for the ballot papers under the first-past-the-post system. With voting set for March 5, the House of Representatives election now stands at a critical juncture. As parties make their final moves and voters prepare to decide the country's next political course, the coming weeks will be decisive. We will continue to follow every key development as Nepal heads towards the polls. That's the perspective for this week. Thank you for watching NTV World.